Everybody come up to the front. Just walk with me. Walk with me. This is normal rhythm we do every day. If you like me, you can focus in. Good morning. Welcome to the ASL Review Board Leadership Professional Development class. It's going to be about an hour and a half or so, I believe. This is very important stuff. Third Corps, G4, level 3, 10, 13. There's a fragment. You guys see the fragment in the ASL review process? Both again, yes. This is us. This is our deal, right? Very important. So we're going to talk about the ASL Review Board process, about the responsibilities, and about how it works. And this requires how long? What's the requirement for the year? Look and tell me. What's the requirement for the year? So if you read it, that's the fragment. What is it? 2 times a year. You guys know it, right? You can't do it if you don't know it, right? All right, so it's 2 times a year. You know, as logisticians, we know the importance of the ASL and SSA. And however, if you need confirmation of the purpose of that, the ASL with SSA and the importance of it, I got a note here that was conducted by the Brand Corporation, which does research for the military and other organizations as well. And what they indicated was how from the ASLs have the greatest direct effect on equipment readiness through their impact on supply chain processes and resources. Is that surprising to you guys? Anyone surprised about that statement from the research? We probably paid about $1 million for that. Right? But you all weren't there, so we had to hire someone else to tell us. All right? But it's very important. So now we have confirmation that it's important. And also, to put it out there, even more directly, we have a BCT at the National Training Center for from the 3rd 1 CD. BCT and the OR rate based on the ASL at the National Training Center, the OR rate was, what do you think it was? With a great high perform ASL, MTC. What do you think their rate was? OR rate was. What was it? Who said 7? That's our normal. 98%. That's an in my school system, that's an A. All right, I'm not on the 4.4 system. That's 4.0. That's an A for an ASL. So that's we're trying to get to. That's confirmation right there that it works. And we also know that if the ASL is stocked properly and your equipment and you need parts for your equipment, what can you do? If you got the proper stuff on the ASL, what can you do? Fix your equipment, right? What if you don't have any ASL? What do you have to do? Who knows, right? Call Walmart, Kmart, Target. I don't know, right? But you got to get it. As logisticians, guys, our job is to ensure the contractor measure as what he needs, when he needs it, where he needs it. That's it. If we can't perform those duties as logisticians, who are we failing? Come back to men. And who else? Us. Right? Right? That's our part in the fight. That's our part in the fight as logisticians. We've got to make sure that we got the right equipment, the right parts. When the contractor man says, I need, what do we need to say? I got it. All right? That's what it's all about. So today should be a good training session. However, because the fraggle is out there, you guys don't know what it actually entails. We're going to talk about all that stuff. Please ask questions. Because this is the expectation twice a year, and you know what to do. You know what the problems are. You know what the duties and responsibilities are, and also you know the other folks' duties and responsibilities within this process. But who definitely has to be involved in the process that has not been involved probably in the past? Who? The commander. The commander must be involved in this process. So it's up to you to ensure that the commander is involved in this process. All right? Because probably we're not committed in our place we're trying to work with the SSA process, the SSA review. Right? But the command has to be part of that process. And that's a missing link right there, okay? But as you all go through this course, this training, and as you learn more about this process, then you are now the experts to explain it to the commander of the importance of his or her involvement in this process, okay? All right, you guys are on the way? Need more PT? Or you good? That's all standard. You're not good. That's standard. You're not good. Let's go ahead and stretch your arms out. Stretch your arms above your head. Don't fall out. Don't fall out. Go ahead and make a left turn. Left turn. You guys on your left? That's a shame. Make a right turn and just scream. I'm going to take the mic, but you have to take the seat. All right.
Good morning, General Miller. Thanks for being here. Yes. The past 7 to 8 months, we have researched, prepared, and presented venues from different elements in relationship to classified parts and how they affect veterans. We have presented these venues in many different areas. Some of the subjects included in previous venues have been standard pricing, SSA performance metrics, GRN conversion. Today, we are going to present the ASL review process. MRV section is presented in this class 9 element by the Director of the General Department. Today, we will be presenting 3 vignettes and following ASL procedures. Before we start, there are some admin notes I would like to cover. Please control your cell phone from silence. Please don't use your cell phones during the presentation. We encourage and we want questions during the discussions. If you have a question, please either come to the mic or a mic will be passed to you for the people that are online listening to this presentation to hear your questions. Let's proceed. This is our agenda, how we're going to present it. As General Miller stated, the ASL review process is a commander's responsibility. It is not a paper drill between SSA tab and the battalion maintenance staff or brigade maintenance staff. Commanders set the tone, commanders set the constraints, commanders decide the final decision on what the ASL is going to hold and be ready for maintenance. By regulation, once you start the process, you have up to 30 days to complete an ASL review. Board regulation requires that all ASL be reviewed and accomplished twice a year. To make the review proper and to get the outcome of the review that we're looking for, proper research and validation must take place at the lowest levels. The laws of ASL expert team must be involved in the ASL review. Finally, you must have historical documentation to make decisions upon. You cannot make decisions based on what you want, what you think, or what you see in the future. You must use historical documentation. At this time, I would like to show the first video.
It's time to get on the ASL review board. Here at the law, we got to discuss our timetable and proceed with the review. So we're going to actually go to the board on the 14th next month, about 9 o'clock. It's about 30 days to you guys prepare and complete the total ASL review. It may not take that long depending on how prepared you are, but that's the basis of my time. Okay, so I assume you're going to be the president of the board? Yes, sir. We also want to consider the national participation from the employee meetings. We got to go out of memorandum of attendance. Done by the recommending that we create an executive for the time states. Yes, states that with the board. What other actions will ensure to be competitive information before? So I think we're very good. So a review request to the expert team and request a historical data of that to the board. And we'll also consider available space and necessary and maybe some other options to consider the additional source. And this is most considered. You need to decide how much of the space that we need to determine part stockage in the community. We business in several parts and we're just need third parts. We need to set a consideration of the so in this draft letter for my signature, taking into consideration all these requirements, I want to separate requirements that based on the addition of essential parts, high volume service parts, critical parts to the all this. Okay, so one of the attributes to actually be the policy that I'm actually doing, the ones that will be document service to the expert team. What to distributors to the creating the plan, or the choose to the information. Make the recommendations on the addition for retention. And then we can make the recommendations for the justification to ensure that the plan works. Okay. So we need to decide how much constraints that we need to determine part stockage we business in separate parts or just need third parts. We need to set a consideration so I talk about weather. Make sure we have a timeline associated with these the actual board and the elaborate on the justifications as well. Will there be an excellent provider to have the actual board? Yes, sir. But if now we work on the some review. I also want to make sure also that all the units attending, if they want to add anything, they add a justification and all of that. Ready to go. So we can pass that on and the results. So one last question. Who will be making decisions on differences or disputes that come up as the president of the board, myself and the brigade executive group here? We will I agree that let's start with the memorandum by the end of for my signature, which you said.
As you can see from this idea, the main involvement, we have a precise plan of what needs to happen, how it's going to happen, and who's going to be involved. The next part of the process is setting up the board itself and the requirements of that. When we get to the second, again, we're going to see a realistic timeline established. We're going to see that the SSA tag is going to request that this board can have from the ASL or the expert team. A memorandum will be prepared and mailed out to all participants when the board will be held, where it will be held, and what their goals will be. The letter of instruction will be clearly defined. Maintenance steps at the battalion brigade level will have 2 weeks in order to what we saw in the first brigade to review their ASL stockage and make recommendations. When the board does meet, part of the recommendations from the maintenance community has to be letters of justification for any additions to the ASL stock. The SSA deck has to do an analysis of storage available. And any other comments that must come in. What you see on the screen is the actual document of the SSA that has to prepare and send to the ASL team as requesting a distributable data from SSA. This document furnishes all historical data of all commands that have been through the SSA over the given period selected. This would require documentation out of the sandboxes at the local maintenance level will be the documentation used for the ASL review.
Yeah, keep going. That's it. We include our efforts so we can press time and issue time. And ensure that we all necessary time on board. With the correct info base. If you ever download the request form in the website, and all we have to do there is the correct base. Based on a management plan, let's make sure we have that timeline set up. We need to get that yesterday, 17. Necessary time copy is required. Since the 14th is a month from now, let's try that with a backward plan on that time. All right, so I put the curriculum, the request form, and ask if that is once we get that, before that, the curriculum, then to review the reflections, deletions, and issues, and then the notes and adjustments for the report. Also, any necessary amendments to the commander, the meetings, text, and the other things, that they can do there, and the review the days are. Also, consider the number of instruction for the main expense that we discussed in the can you format another justification how to prepare statement to add anything after the report? Yes, sir, I will approve that in the letter of justification, and I'll also approve that in the excellent letter of the issue to fill out and the excellent. I guess from now on, I'm not pretty much set. But the ASL review was sent today. It should be populated for this exactly 2 weeks to get back. Let's see that in about 2 weeks. To review that in this amount of time. And it should have enough time to make it those concern before 14. Then after the board will approve the commander, set it up on verification from ASC, ANC, and we'll probably get a contact and moving that to the back of the board. So then now we can do that time. Anything else to you brought no strategy better than we do the ball rolling. So I think we're going to do that. I'm going to send that off and do it all. And I'll start holding the part of it. If we have nothing else, I guess let's get to it. Close it.
As we see, included in the we now established the LOI, we have set the necessary documentation to the ASL review team, and we have notified the battalion, the brigade, and supports all the requirements are going to be forward. As we get into the actual board execution, as you see on the screen, these are key people that need to be participants of the ASL review board. Each one brings their own expertise to the board. And each one can be a source to help resolve issues and problems in the ASL process. As the board, as you can see, when the board gets started, once again, constraints are going to be restated for everybody on the same page. And be aware that even though this is a vignette as a small token, an ASL review board is a line-by-line review of each line of the ASL. As stated earlier in our presentation, the board president resolves any disputes that may come up between members of the board. And finally, the board is not completed until all letters of justification asking for additions to the ASL is presented to the board president.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to the business. Everyone has received a copy of the ASL analysis, the recommendation of the expert ASL team, and allows them. Thank you. assuming everyone had a chance to approve the list, so let's discuss recommended changes. At this time, I'm going to go to the beginning next field. Who is my board any questions?
Good morning, gentlemen. Before we get started with the actual discussion of the ASL review board, I want to make sure priorities for our recommendations would be business essential parts, high volume service parts, critical parts needed for our low distance goods. Finally, I want to make sure we discuss our SSL at the same time. I want to make sure that the time maintenance steps are maintained at SSL unit level, with the SSA, and during the rebound, kind of maintenance step to bring the data and upper line in pocket, number zero balance, and the last thing.
The analysis of the SSL, which is for finish small stuff or protocol large parts. So, so we have 150 pounds SSL, 15 of those are pounds, the last one is review the list, time, doesn't have any important things at this time, but we have to go through the service.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. I do that in the first one. First of all, how many more do you want to increase the form?
I think 3 shoots.
Okay, are you maintaining that with that one?
There's a I'll get that.
Okay, my recommendation would be that we increase the ASL star from 2 and as 1 to SSL. Okay, we have that note. Let's move on to 6.
We have 200 lines on SSL and 25 of the 0 balance. So they do have valid blue balance to us. I would repeat the list and with our NTC location coming up, I think that it would help us a lot if we added some lines. I got 4 lines that I'd like to add that I think will really help the readiness drivers, both with the train up and the recovery. So I'd like to add some lines, 4 lines.
Okay, good. I do have some questions once we have money in NTC location. You're speaking of, you want to increase the quantities of the ASL support there. Have you compiled a list of repair parts to support that mission? I think it should be a priority for you as a state that to complete that list needed to support the NTC rotation. I believe we use the SLC code with them between you and the SSA that we can create a supported classifying parts, SSL parts for that mission. We short term turn it into a mission.
Is 30 days for last SSA. We should have space. If we do not have space,
if we see an issue working out a sort of issue. Okay, and I think we should go ahead with that and make sure that good discussion.
Sure. Currently, we have 100 on SSI. We're actually a high number of the old backs, 5. Our last quarter was invoice by so our S4 connection at 14 1 and 9 days of course the association. And I'm going to with that said, I will get this and how I associated that. So I recommend removing those items because otherwise they'll just check space on that. That's it.
Okay, do you have an actual number of lines you were referring to as one?
Yes, sir. We're going to be 7 lines. We'll set 9.1 will affect our line of SSL. This is affecting all of the 0 lines.
Okay, now the other design text review give recommendations for the person that will affect you if we let those lines out of the ASL.
Got to do all that. You know, we don't have that all.
Yes, congratulations.
Okay, so I agree with that recommendation that we need those lines.
The other issue I see here is we have a high number of 0 balance. That's almost 5%. What research has been done on resolve of pilot vertical balance?
Sir, was researching and holding the ASN West, as an expert data for the review of the review.
Is it a national supply issue? Is it just a backlog issue? Has it already come back?
So we have also supported those ASN to our active responsibility for the islands, the city, and international supply system issues and costs. Our experience will be complex for supply happening.
Okay, very good. Sounds like some good research has been done. That's why you can bring it back or and see contact DLA and ANC to resolve this issue. Is there anything else that we need to add to cover this board?
Well, again, thanks everybody for coming out. This is how important how we this is. I think very important for you guys, and continue doing this going forward. If there's anything I can further, thanks for the board. Thanks.
Some important notes that I like to cover here in this beginning that I covered before was not every report request for ASL has to be a long-term stock ASL part. AR-17-2 allows you to stop parts for mission, stop parts for new equipment, and other venues that does not require long-term stocking, can be short-term stocking, but still support your equipment readiness program. Then you have to refer to stock code minimum, which is supported. That stock code allows you to have 30 days supply of those identified parts for NTC rotations, CTC rotations. At the end of that time, you return those parts back into the system. You do not maintain those parts. I bring this up because sometimes we get long enough that if I want the part, I gotta have it on the shelf and I'm going to use it once a year. By using the AR regulations and the stock codes available to us, we can tailor ASL to our needs and meet the mission requirement. In conclusion, the last step of any ASL review board is the Exxon that has to go, that is prepared by the board president and goes back to the commander for signature. It is the commander's job to approve or disapprove recommendations. But that document that he signs is the document that goes forward to the ASL review board expert team to adjust the ASL stock. Furthermore, any additions asked for the ASL has to have another justification. Without another justification, the ASL expert team is not going to validate your recommendations to change. For those that don't have a contact with the ASL expert team, the contact listed on the screen is the project director for the ASL review. We had that there before. He may need to be online now if you wish to ask any questions. He is the person who can help you with the ASL. At this point, I would like to open it up for questions and discussions.
You have a question. What's the difference in this process between the ASL and the shop stock? Is that a similar process when you determine the shop stocks at the unit level?
Both SSL and ASL require historical document demand history to support. The difference being the SSL is controlled by the unit, maintained in the unit. The ASL is controlled by the SSA, maintained SSA facility. In reality, the ASL stock should support the SSL stock. By regulation, if the unit maintains an SSL, they have to furnish a copy of that inventory to the ASL. The ASL will backfill that stock as it is completed. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
So any other questions?
Said up front that demand history is all that we take into account. How much flexibility and determination or interpreting seasonal items in that demand history, things that we know we might need, the old command directed lines kind of thing.
Commanders have the option that the ASL or SSL, they can direct up to 10% of their stocking as command direct. Furthermore, if it is a seasonal item, there is a stocking code which I believe is L. I believe that you can put on your stocking, identifying it as seasonal only to accept for demand. Yes, sir.
When we go through the process, do you have to take in consideration mobility index when you're reviewing the ASL? And how much it affect your decision-making process during the review?
That is a subject area. Regulations is very great on that because right now it says to maintain SSL, ASL, and SSL, you would have to do or transport its own stock. That has been brought up to the DA level. That's being looked at. DA 407 has more information on this than I do. But the last rewrite of the regulations, they're going to maybe eliminating that transportation piece. So I don't think the law is going to have that issue.
You said that there was a list we could keep in case you go into NTC for 30 days. What about looking forward to like the GRF missions that we're picking up now? Keeping an ASL list for a prepare to deploy opportunity. That makes sense?
There again, that will fall into your stock, your SCL code M, mission support. The only limitation on that right now, regulation says it has to be 30 days, not be more than a 30-day stocking. You have to turn everything into that 30 days. I would say that's a question we need to write down and take to the ASL expert team. I believe by command, there would be command exception that would allow you to retain that offer. Now, if you're asking that 2 years from now you go to have an employment and you're trying to stock up after that, the answer is no, but if that window is small, you would be able to stock up. Any more questions?
Mine's more of a statement. Just a reminder from Bob's comments and the Chief Carter, even though Fort Hood has a policy of twice a year for an ASL review board, Bob's will only support it once a year. But they will do a really intensive ASL review assessment to help the law to meet that requirement for 2 times. But as far as the full-blown review board, they'll do it once a year.
Any more questions?
I got one. Generally, how long is the turnaround time between you make a recommendation for your ASL from your ASL review board until the time in which, and I know it's part dependent really, but what's the typical turnaround time that you expect on that?
Chief, you can answer that when you go with the ASL.
Questions, comments, turns, somebody to the ASL.
No, specifically, what's the ASL? What's the ASL review board makes determination? Until the time, what's the typical turnaround time that you see on the ASL authorization to be able to
Take it to the addressment support and get sent back to the SNC. And this is what your ASL is not going to be 3 or 4 weeks.
So 3 to 4 weeks or so shift by
Can you hear me now?
3 to 4 weeks, on average, you send it to the ASL expert team once they approve it. They send it back, it's been approved, and that information goes back to the city. So the system will automatically start to stop that.
The only real delay in that process for the ASL expert team is going to be is they're going to look at what you're asking for, make sure you're not asking for an obsolete part, make sure you're not asking for a trouble item. They don't want you to stop something that you use if you're not going to replenish.
Yeah, real quick question. We talked about being doing this twice a year or do this. What is the key indicator for those SSAs the day commander to make that determination. It's time to do a review board. What are the key points or key events that they need to watch in order to make that review process?
By regulation, SSL has to be in before every 180 days. By regulation, they want the ASLs to be done the same way. A key indicator, if I was to be able to look at my stockage, would be length of time it's taken to get parts of that order. How many parts of my order that you do not have in stock? I have to go to the national system to get it. Those are all key indicators that your ASL inventory is out. It's not where you need it to be. Equipment, new equipment, you can always guarantee you can put it in, code change, force sealing, however you can do equipment. If you need to look at your ASL, see if you support that equipment.
Just one last comment. And Chief
Right now, we're talking about 3 to 4 weeks. You gotta understand that ASL, those parts, it's not yours. It's coming from the Army working capital fund. AAC is financing that, putting the funding in there. So when you put the wish list out there, what you have is you're asking AAC, I need to have these people with me just in case I have a breakdown. So we gotta be careful when we do this analysis. You go through this analysis and ask all this line. We talked about the mobility index, and I'm going to be able to move all this stuff across you have to deploy it right now. Can you move it with organic equipment? Now we're going to send 3 to 4 connectors for parts. That's not going to happen. So that's a comment that I just want to make sure everybody understands. Once you put the requisition in the Army, that's when you're paying for that part. Okay? But in the meantime, AAC is paying for that, put it onto a system. So you've got to be in consideration, take that in consideration when you do the review process. But at this moment, General Leader talked about unit NTC performing over 90% of that NTC rotation. We have the BSD commander over here, I just want you to give your perspective on the ASL review process, what you did before going to NTC into that rotation of those directions.
Hey, sir, Steve Harrison, kind of 2 parts, really. So I'll talk the NTC specific first. When you go to the NTC, you draw the pre-positioned stock ASL to take out the box. So that's the easy part. The good news is they do a very good job over there, and they really look at the demand history and get things set. And by the way, they have about, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, about 1,400 lines, somewhere about there. Of what they found, that units typically go through and break and requisition. And they've got a couple different SSAs that you're not familiar, based on the composition and the density of the equipment going. So we started with that, knowing that we had a pretty good solution set. But what we did is we did an internal analysis, much like you just described. And we looked at our own SSL, and we made changes to that. So we definitely did that piece at the time. And we started working months and months out to get those parts and pieces straight. One, so we could get them fixed coming out the memory density before we put our equipment on the train. And 2, so that we could get those back all the time, so that when we went, we had we'll call it robust, but it wasn't as much as we wanted. Shop stock combat spares going into the NTC after you maneuver time. While we were doing that, though, we looked at our density. In our case, it was a little different. We had strikers, additional tanks. We went as a hybrid unit. Our last team sat down with the support operations team, and we did a lot of analysis internally. We said, hey, what is the demand history on X, Y, and Z? And we started with R26. So as the scenario gets depicted, you bring in your maintenance techs and you look at those things. They know what breaks. They know what they order, because they don't always order everything they need. Sometimes they beg, borrow, and share. So, 3/8 cab talks 1/12 cab, and they figure out, I need a flex capacitor. Well, I've got one in my shop stock. Here you go. So one sometimes isn't always ordered, but we figure out what we need, and we went back to the AMC guys and team and said, here's what we think we're going to go through, and here's the danger points, and here's what's going to happen if we don't get a transmission for an 88. You know, at least 2 tank engines, because historically we see we go 150 striker tires because we know we bust these out. We laid them all out, and we looked at what we have on our shelf that we could take to help the ATC ASL, which we did some of that, took a couple of containers of stuff from our ASL home station. We talked to the striker unit that was 417 infantry coming out of the 1st Armored Division. They did the same thing. We went over to 3rd CR down the Electric to help out as well. And then the AMC team made sure that we did a hard push to fill those zero balance lines and those lines that weren't up to the requisition objective out at the NTC. And then on top of that, we made sure that we had the easy button figured out. So the team pushed and it helped reposition either A, with the item manager to say, if we call you, you got to support us. We got the thumbs up there. Or in some cases, we got items pushed and stayed at Tracy, California. If we needed them, we could pull them. So that's how was our approach to NTC. You know, and I'll tell you, sir, our approach to this ASL as we're going from wave 1 to wave 2 is kind of it's interesting. Because G Army is giving some new considerations that we're still trying to figure out. And I think as we hit to wave 2, we'll see both visibility up and down. I think that's going to help. But like you, sir, my concern is the mobility. You know, one of the things that the ASL is helping us with, because it's smarter than we are, it's this new off-the-shelf SAT program. It helps figure out those seasonal items, which is kind of what I was asking about seasonal items. It'll do it for you in some cases. And because it's AMC stops, they're not going to just keep cutting directives and sending this back to wholesale, because that's spending money 2 or 3 times. They will direct it to sit on your shelf, as a retention line, using an old term, but we still use that term. So we're growing, getting big, and my concern is, how big is too big? So you're absolutely right. A lot of times, what we're looking at as we go through our ASL is what we need to add. Not so much the retain piece. Some of that's kind of worked it out. But one of those things that we've got to excess out, and what's the right word? Chief, make sure you use the right word. Just excess out there. Make sure I have it right. So and there's a lot of things. The transition from wave 1 to wave 2, just the standard maneuver guy who doesn't think he has his stuff unless he has his stuff. So I will tell you, we had at one point 1 million power costs. True story. In our SSA. And it rolls out. I mean, anybody can pick those up. Because somebody ordered them for a gunnery, and they didn't do it fast enough. They canceled the order, and they finally came in and they were happy, but they didn't do all this other stuff, so they just left it with this, well, it's paid for, but we're gonna, so we put it back on the shelf, and GRP says, we've got a requirement, we've got a demand, because every 6 months we need more cups. So sometimes they just show up. So absolutely, you've got to be engaged day-to-day reviews along with your excess. And that secondary ESL will be, they'll kick back the recommended, basically demand history. You get the other. And we're about to go wave 2 in October. So we're looking, but we're going to let that hit, and then we're going to hit it really hard right after we do wave 2 conversion, and try to set ourselves up.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Right back here. I have one comment. Going through the process myself, part of the issues that we may see that a lot of people don't notice is the PD line, which are your non-stock items. You should have a 0 safety side. In many cases, SSAs have order, that's not the case, which limits our constraint. Another issue is the PD lines, which are consumption lines. Consumption lines forecast out the next 3 to 4 years. So supply rooms, our biggest vendors, pens, pencils, rooms, all this stuff keeps getting forecast out. So every year, if your unit decides, you know what, I needed 100 pencils in December, next year, TR is going to forecast that out and reorder. What we as accountable officers have to do in this ASL process is so daunting,
is we have to go in there, we have to put these forecasts out to make room for our prime stock. Just a little note, because I went through it and it was a ongoing thing for the next year that myself and ISR went through trying to grab tonight itself. The next question, the next thing is when you submit your paperwork, forecast. I'm in tune with all the buildings, all the equipment that's coming in that I add onto the sheet. So that way, you guys go into these new buildings and have it through equipment and change over, it's already readily available. So when the equipment goes down, you guys are still in the back. It's just some of the things that I want to just know that I just want to put out there and let you guys know. The ASL process for the Army is cool. It's not like, oh, what's the SARS? It's an in-depth process and that's going to involve everything.
Thank you. Any other questions? Discussion? In closing, I'd just like to go back over some of the key points. ASL review process is a command team program. It needs to be part of your annual battle drills, battle rhythm. It is not a paper drill between the SSA tag and the dynamic step. Commanders make the decisions, commanders have to live with that all the time. Key players have to be involved with the ASL review. It's not a one-man shop, it's not one person making the determination. All key players, from the unit, to the command chain, the ISR, to DLA, to ANC, has to be involved with the ASL review process. It's not an easy process, it's a time-consuming process. There are problems within the Army with the review, as noted. You have to work through those programs. If you want to have a ready, able to meet the mission requirements, you have to have an active SSL and ASL to support that mission. Sir, you have time.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Hey, great question. Hey, one thing you had to kind of walk through the process. One thing I want you to ask is those decisions. In the command to find procedure, you must also know exactly what it needs to do. Really have to know the equipment, the parts. I know someone talking about GRMA, if you don't put the, like in other part, if you want the wrong parts, get this wash versus that wash, and still can't, whatever. You have to know what you are ordering based on the equipment in your organization. And that's a missing for some of us, because we have a command itself, or there's more than one part for the commander, and it's been sitting on the shelf for years, and they continue their process. Like it indicates, it's going to keep ordering the wrong part. So you have to go through that process and be line by line, understand what you have, and to ensure that it's still legitimate based on what you have in your inventory. But the key is that you're the expert, the SME for that commander. When you start doing your review process, it should not be a question as to what does this part need, what does this part go, it's all good information. So you got to get smart on knowing exactly what your inventory is, what you actually have to get made. So you start with those parts, you know what you're looking at, what you need to be ordered, what you need to stop ordering that's obsolete. You look at some of these warehouses, some of this stuff that applies to a 3D process. Now, 10. So one thing attention to. All right. Good class, and thanks for participating. We appreciate it.
I want to thank you all for coming. We have a delivered. That concludes our LPD for today.